Hi all, welcome back to Computer Organization course. We'll get started. Today we will start our discussion with this hardwired control. Okay, so before getting to know what is hardwired control, let's discuss some of the basics. To execute an instruction, the processor must have some means of generating the control signals, right? That too in a proper sequence. The control signals such as PC out, YN, ZN, we have seen these all instructions, right? So the computer designers use a wide variety of techniques to solve this problem. The techniques or the approaches will fall under two categories. The first one is hardwired control and the second one is microprogrammed control. First, we will discuss this hardwired control. Okay. So, whenever an instruction is getting executed, we have a particular control signals generated for that. So, if you could remember the control sequence which we generated for the instruction add in bracket R3 comma R1. So each step in that sequence, control sequence, is completed in one clock period. So for that, a counter may be used to keep track of the control steps. So the control, this counter here, control step counter, what it can do is it will keep track of the control steps. So each state or each count of this counter, it corresponds to one control step. Now, the required control signals are determined in the following way. First, the contents of the control step counter, this one, okay. Next, the contents of the IR, the contents of the condition codes and external input signals such as MFC and interrupt request. So, this is a basic diagram like what are all the hardwares that are involved in the control unit. So, the control unit, what it does, it generates the control signals, right? Okay, now this diagram we have the clock, control step counter. Okay, we will discuss this encoder decoder separately. Okay, IR, external inputs and condition codes such as whenever you have a carry, that is C flag, zero flag, negative flag, those are all the condition codes. So the inputs from all these will be combined into this encoder decoder and particular control signal will be generated. So this is the simplified view of the hardware that is involved in the control unit. Now what we can do is we can have a little complex version of this one wherein the control step counter can be again divided into a separate thing and encoder decoder can be separated. Okay, now this is the diagram for the same, the separation of the encoding and decoding functions, right? So the decoder which we saw in the previous slide would be divided into two. One is the step decoder and instruction decoder. Encoder is a separate unit here. The other things remains same, that is the control step counter, IR, external inputs and condition codes. Apart from that, we have two control signals called as end and run. Okay, so we will discuss this the working of this block. So this step decoder here, it is present, right? It provides a separate signal line for each step or each time slot in the control sequence. The output of the instruction decoder here, it contains again a set of lines for each machine instruction. For any instruction which is loaded into your instruction register, the output lines, say INS1, INS2 or till INSM. So one of these lines would be set as 1. It would be set to 1. Say suppose INS1 is set to 1, then the other lines would be set to 0. Okay, so one of the lines from this instruction decoder would be set to 1 and rest all lines would be set to 0. The input signals to the encoder block in this diagram are combined to generate the individual control signals, that is the time slot plus the instruction, if there are any external inputs, that one, and if there are any condition code, those all things will be combined into this encoder and a control signal is generated. Control signals such as yin, PC out, add, end, these all things would be generated here. Okay, next we have this end signal, right? So what it will do is it will start a new. Okay, before that, this end is connected to your control step counter. Okay, so whenever this end signal is reset, what it would do is it will start a new fetch cycle. So whenever this ends signal, it starts a new fetch cycle by resetting the control step counter to its starting value. We have another control signal called as run. Again, this is connected to your control step counter. So whenever run is equal to 1, what will happen is the control step counter would be incremented by 1 at the end of every clock cycle. Again, whenever this run is set to whenever this run is equal to 0, what will happen is it will make sure that the counter, it stops counting. So this is needed whenever we have the wait for memory function completed, WMFC signal is issued to cause the processor to wait for the reply from the memory. Now this entire block, it can be viewed as a state machine that changes from one state to another in every clock cycle depending on the contents of your instruction register, then the condition codes and the external inputs. The output of this state machine, we call it as control sequence. The sequence of operations carried out by this machine is determined by the wiring of the logic elements. So the name is so we have the name hardwired. Okay, a controller that uses this approach can operate at very high speed. So, however, it provides a little flexibility, and it is and the complexity of the instruction set can implement is limited. Next, we will see about a complete processor. In this structure, we have a instruction unit. This instruction unit, again, these things are present inside a processor is connected to the main memory and input output via a system bus. Okay, first we'll talk about the instruction unit. So this instruction unit, what it does, it fetches the instruction from this instruction cache. Okay, this instruction unit, what it does, it fetches the instruction from the instruction cache, or if it is the instruction is not present in the cache, what it will do, it will fetch it from the main memory. It is something like this. Okay, first instruction unit checks whether the instruction is present in the cache, or if it is not present in the instruction cache, then it will search from the main memory. Okay, now it has a separate this processor, it has separate processing units to deal with your integer data and floating point data. So we have a separate unit here, integer unit and floating point unit. Each of these units can be organized in this way. Okay, then we have something called as data cache, that is, it fetches the data from these units. This data cache is placed in between your integer unit, floating point unit, and your main memory. So using separate caches like instruction cache and data cache, what it does is, it is a common practice in many processors today. So other processors use a single cache that will contain your instruction as well as the data. Now the processor is connected to the system bus. Okay, this is a system bus and it is external bus. So and to rest of the computer by means of this bus interface. Okay, now in this diagram we should note that although we have a single integer unit and a single floating point unit, the processor might contain several of these integer units and floating point units. So whenever we have multiple integer and floating point unit, what will happen is it will increase the potential for concurrent operations. The concurrent operations can be done here. Okay, next we have a quiz. Say true or false. In hardwired control, the control signal end is used to start a new instruction fetch cycle. The time starts now. Okay, next we will study about the microprogrammed control unit. Okay, so in the last slides, we had seen the hardwired control unit wherein we had encoder, decoder, step counter, and all, right. So another variation of that is your microprogrammed control unit. Here, the control signals are generated by a program similar to your machine level programs. Now, we will see this later, this slide. So first we will check out the basic organization or the block diagram of microprogrammed control unit. So before starting our explaining this one, we have to understand some basic terms here. What is a control word, then what is micro instruction, micro routine, and all. For that we will check this slide. So first, starting with the control word. What is a control word? Okay, control word, that is CW. I'm sorry. Okay, so control word is nothing but a word whose individual bits represent the various control signals. So you can see here, this is a control sequence for execution of the instruction add the content of R3, R1. Now each of these, this PC out, MAR in, read, each of these will be called as control signals. Okay, and this is a control sequence for the entire instruction add R3, R1. Now we have something called as control word. Now this control word is a word whose individual bits represents various control signals of this sequence. Suppose your control word is of 16 bits. Okay, it is of 16 bits. That means each bit in this control word, it would represent this control, any of these control signals. Again, now this each of the control steps in the control sequence of an instruction, it defines a unique combinations of ones and zeros. That means this control word 16 bits can be a combination of zeros and ones that would represent a unique combination, or it would represent the control sequence. Okay, so if you could consider here the first one. Okay, there are 7 control words which would represent this control sequence of this instruction. Okay, the first control sequence or this entire thing, okay, from PC out to ZIN, how can we represent in a control word is something like this, the first one. Okay, so wherever we have these control signals, right, PC out, MAR in, then read, select for, add, ZIN, so those all will be represented as ones and rest of the control signals would be represented as zeros. So PC out here we have here, it would be represented as 1. MAR in, it is represented as 1. Again PC out we have represented as 1, that means PC1 it should be 0. Okay, MAR in is 1, that means MAR out should be 0. Okay, now so how can we represent the select lines of the multiplexer? So if you could remember the single bus organization, wherein we had 2 input multiplexer, right, 2:1, wherein one input was constant 4 and the another input was taken from Y register, and we had a signal that is select. So here we have select 4, right, we cannot represent that in this routine. So what we can do is we can have a generic signal called as select, and we can make it 0 or 1. So whenever we make this select as 0, what will happen is the content of this Y would be taken to the mux and then it would be given to the A input of the ALU. So whenever this select is set as 1, what would happen is the select 4 or this constant 4 would be selected and it would be given to the ALU. Okay, now this entire sequence, okay, the sequence of the control words which corresponds to the control sequence of the instruction, it is called as micro routine. Okay, I'll repeat once again, the set of or the sequence of the control words. These are all the control words. Okay, we have 7 control words here. Now the sequence of the control words which represents or which corresponds to the control sequence of the instruction, we call it as micro routine. That means the entire thing, this entire thing, we call it as a micro routine, and individual words in this micro routine are called as micro instructions. Okay, now these individual words in this entire micro routine would be called as micro instructions. That means we have one micro routine and 7 micro instructions. Okay, hope you are clear with what is a control word, micro routine and micro instruction. Next we will see, we have already discussed this control word, so we'll come back to this basic block diagram of micro programmed control unit again, and now we will check what is a control store. Okay, the micro routines for all instructions in the instruction set of a computer are stored in this special memory called as control store. Again I'll repeat, all the micro routines for the instructions are stored in a special memory called as control store. The control unit can generate the control signals for any instructions by sequentially reading the control words corresponding to the micro routine from this control store. Now this suggests that the control unit can be organized in this manner. Okay, to read the control words sequentially from the this control store, a microprogrammed counter is used. Okay, to read the control words sequentially from the control stores, we use MuPC, that is microprogram counter. Now every time when the new instruction is loaded into IR, what will happen is its starting address would be fetched and it would be given to the microprogrammed counter. Now this MuPC, it will automatically incremented by your clock and causing the successive micro instructions to be read from the control stores. So the control signals are delivered to the various part of the processor in the correct sequence. Now we should understand here that this diagram, whatever we are saying here, it cannot implement or handle is your condition codes or external inputs. Okay, so to handle this, an alternative approach is used to use it is used for the conditional branch instructions. In addition to your branch address, these micro instructions, they specify which of the external inputs, condition codes or possibly bits of the instruction register should be checked as a condition for branching to takes place. Okay, now here is an example for that. So this is a micro routine for the instruction branch less than 0. So after loading the instruction into the IR, so these 3 things. Okay, so let's consider these are the memory address. Okay, so 0, 1, 2, 3 and these are the memory address. Okay, so the first 3, it consists of instruction fetch phase, that is the instruction has been fetched and right now it is into your IR. A branch micro instruction transfers control to the corresponding micro routine, which is assumed to be at the step 25 here. Okay, or your location 25 in the control store. That means till here we got to know that the branch instruction is present in your IR. Next, branch to the starting address of the appropriate micro routine. Now this, what it suggests is, whenever your IR, it gets to know that there is a branch instruction, either it has to jump backward or forward, right? So this micro routine would be placed somewhere in the memory. Now okay, say suppose it is present at the location 25 of the memory. So what it will do is, it will jump to the starting address of the micro routine. Say suppose our micro routine is at memory location or step 25. So here at this address, what will happen is it will test the condition. If n is equal to 0, then branch the micro instruction 0. That means the condition would be tested in this micro instruction, and if it is true, it will again will get back to the 0th step or the location 0. If it is not, then the next would be executed. Next instruction would be executed. Okay. Next, we have a quiz. The individual control words in micro routine are called as dash. Okay, time up. That's it for today. So this completes your third chapter. In the next session, we'll start with the new chapter. Okay, thank you.